The problem over here was once political decision makers have taken the decision to move back, the disengagement procedure requires trust and verify. And the Indian soldiers went out there to verify whether the Chinese have pulled out their troops as well as dismantled their tanks. They didn't expect, because of the terms of engagement for the Indian military are pretty clear. Even when fisticuffs happen, you don't have to engage in physical violence, especially firing of shots. And that's
Yeah,
what
because
happened.
let me ask you about that. Let me ask you about that, Yogesh, because you have this photo that was tweeted by an Indian army colonel who's a defense analyst, Ajay Shukla, which shows nail-studded rods. Now, again, neither you or I were there. Does that seem plausible that this was used?
Yes, very much. You can see the blood stains on the sticks as well. I think the uses of Neanderthal weapons, which involve these clubs studded with sticks, batons, and fisticuffs. And the Indian soldiers were carrying weapons. The External Affairs Minister has just tweeted that the protocol requires you to carry weapons, but not to use them. There has been no casualty on the border for 45 years. And this was completely unexpected, and therefore it is so shocking. And also, let me add, the terrain is very difficult. Once these fist fights occur, most of the deaths actually occurred because soldiers were pushed or either fell into the ravine, as well as the sub-zero temperatures which are there in the Galwan Valley.
Now, the difference between the first two incidents, Leela Jacinto, is that this time there were actually fatalities.
Well, I want to emphasize that this is, that border skirmishes are not new, but we are in uncharted territory right now. These skirmishes lasted well over a month, as opposed to earlier ones that happened at strategic points. In terms of the international climate and what's happening, things have also changed. We are now in the sort of a coronavirus era, which is much more dangerous. So yes, there are,
much more dangerous. How so?
Well, as you said, Francois, if you look at both countries and the world in general, you have populist leaders. You have populist leaders in India and China. The coronavirus crisis has exposed how badly populist leaders have handled the crisis. What generally tends to happen when the Ministry of Administration is not worked on, you tend to have a problem, and then there's a rallying around the flag. For China, Charles can talk about this in greater detail, but President Xi is under pressure. His populace is angry with him. And what the wolf warrior diplomacy, which China unleashed a few years ago, has really exacerbated, and on all fronts. In Hong Kong, there was the National Security Act, which is being pushed through without Hong Kong's green light, on the South China Sea. So China is starting to sort of respond to this overwhelming international pressure by asserting itself. And what happened on the Indian side, I feel, is a new game.